$15,000. That's what he started with, and he turned it into $150 million. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are breaking down the absolutely incredible journey of Takashi Kotegawa, better known as BNF. Now, here's the kicker. He didn't use insider secrets, and he didn't just get lucky. No, he conquered the brutal stock market by treating it exactly like a competitive video game. So let's just jump right in and look at the exact strategies that turned a quiet gamer into an absolute financial legend.
150 million. It's a staggering number, right? But honestly, the most insightful part of this transformation isn't that massive total. It's the fact that it was built entirely on relentless, ironclad discipline. When you look at the source material, there are no magical indicators or secret formulas. BNF just understood one fundamental truth. The market runs on human emotion. Fear drives prices down, greed drives them up. And he literally just waited for the exact moments when everyone else lost their minds.
Okay, let's dive into this by looking at what we can call level 1 of his journey. Picture this, a quiet guy in a small Tokyo apartment. He's a gamer. He's used to sitting in front of a screen, hyper-focused, just scanning for patterns and enemy movements. So when he turned his attention to the stock market, he didn't see some boring, complex financial institution. He saw a massive multiplayer strategy game. To him, the charts, that was the map. The candlesticks were the movements of troops. The trading volume was the intensity of the battle. And the other traders, well, they were just an invisible army. He realized that, just like digital enemies in a video game, emotional human beings in the market leave completely predictable patterns.
And this brings us to his ultimate breakthrough. One day, while he was browsing online stock forums during a market crash, he noticed traders screaming, panicking, and blaming the system for their massive losses. And it clicked for him instantly. He realized they sounded exactly like gamers raging in a chat box, shouting that a game is broken or cheating, just because they're losing. He figured out that when people lose money, they completely abandon logic and operate purely on raw emotion. If he could map that emotional pattern, well, he could beat the game.
But to actually pull this off, he had to navigate level 2, and that meant conquering himself through a sort of ego death. See, early on, he took a trade based on a pattern, but the price immediately went the wrong way. His heart raced, his hands were sweating. This was real money, his life savings, not just a high score. But instead of freezing up and just hoping it would bounce back like most beginners do, he remembered a basic gaming tactic: retreat when the enemy pattern changes. He took the small loss and got out. And he actually celebrated that small loss, because he realized that winning isn't about always being right. It's simply about making fewer mistakes. To master this mindset, he used an absolutely brutal journaling process. In competitive gaming, you watch replays of your matches to see exactly where you moved too early or maybe reacted too slowly, right? Well, BNF did the exact same thing with his trades. But he didn't just log his profits and losses, he logged his psychological state. He would ask himself, why did I enter? Was I driven by fear or maybe blinded by greed? He was literally playing against himself, studying his own match footage to make sure he wouldn't repeat the exact same errors.
And this brilliantly illustrates what that replay analysis revealed. A genuinely shocking statistic. A massive 80% of his early losses didn't come from bad market analysis. Nope, they were simply boredom trades. He realized that just because the market is moving doesn't mean you actually have to be in it. He learned that most market movements are just traps, and true mastery is having the discipline to just sit on your hands and wait for a crystal clear setup.
Which brings us to level 3, where he finally unlocked his true edge. After realizing that most of the market is just noise, he decided to completely ignore normal, everyday price fluctuations. Instead, he exclusively hunted for 3 very specific anomalies: sudden extreme price drops, unjustified extreme price rises, and weird, unusual volume spikes. Why these 3? Because these are the exact moments when human logic completely breaks down and raw, irrational emotion takes the wheel.
So he shifted his entire mindset. He stopped trying to predict the news. He stopped trying to guess which company was going to have a good quarter. Instead, he just waited for abnormal panic. Think of it like this. He decided he wouldn't fish in a calm river. He would wait for a massive storm and hunt in the chaotic ocean. He knew he couldn't predict the future of the market, but he knew with 100% certainty that human beings would eventually panic and make mistakes. That fear-driven crowd sell-off, that became his personal goldmine.
But having an edge means absolutely nothing without discipline. On his desk, he didn't have fancy motivational posters or complex algorithms running. He just had a simple note taped right there that read, "Don't be stupid." He realized that one massive loss will destroy you, so his ultimate weapon was actually the do nothing button. If the setup wasn't perfect, if the panic wasn't extreme enough, he simply sat there, doing nothing, preserving his capital while everyone else bled out.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how this exact mindset played out during his legendary boss fight trade. It was 2005 during the JCOM IPO, and the stock just started violently crashing. I mean, a true panic cascade. The forums were screaming that the company was finished, everyone needed to sell, but BNF's gamer logic kicked in. Looking at the situation, he recognized the pattern. This wasn't normal selling. This was a massive fat-finger typo by an institutional trader at Mizuki Securities. While the crowd saw the end of the world, BNF just saw a system error waiting to be exploited.
Let's walk through how this execution built in real time. When the panic began at 9 a.m., he didn't just jump in trying to catch a falling knife. Nope. He patiently waited for 15 agonizing minutes. He waited for that massive volume of fear selling to finally exhaust itself. It was only when the selling slowed down at 9:16 a.m., signaling the absolute bottom, that he actually entered the trade. And exactly as he predicted, just minutes later, the wider market realized the massive pricing error. The price violently reversed upwards as all that panic selling instantly turned into panic buying. As the price absolutely skyrocketed, his portfolio went deep into the green. But he followed his steps perfectly. See, this right here is where most everyday traders get wiped out by FOMO, the fear of missing out. As the crowd scrambled to buy in, screaming that the price would just keep going higher, he methodically sold his positions into their buying pressure, locking in his profits step by step. He secured a massive payday, not through greed, but through the cold, calculated execution of his plan.
Which finally brings us to the level 5 endgame. He made millions. His account swelled to that incredible $150 million mark. But his lifestyle? Completely unchanged. He didn't go out and buy a fleet of flashy sports cars. He didn't start a YouTube channel to sell you some overpriced trading course. He stayed in his modest setup, eating ordinary food. Because he knew a profound truth. The market eventually destroys arrogant traders. The second you think you're bigger than the game resets you to zero. By keeping his ego dead, he kept his fortune alive.
BNF's story is the ultimate proof that the mechanics of the market aren't some mystical, heavily guarded secret. You can learn the patterns. You can identify the exact moments when the crowd loses its collective mind to fear and greed, but all the strategy in the world won't save you if you can't control yourself when that screen flashes red. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to think about. It's one thing to see the market's patterns, but when the pressure is truly on, can you conquer your own mind